Okay, so the last time we left the project, we were very close to getting it that it's actually saving comic book data. So here I've already created an account. I loaded up in the simulator. It remembers me, and so it took me right to home. Good. And then if I were to save a comic, and I'm just saving, you know, Tom and Jerry. So all of this that we did last time, I have the success. It's going to save internally, and I can confirm that's all being saved inside of the application viewer. And so I've got, in my case, 3 items. I've already saved a few things to test it out. So I started to save some things. Okay, so if we're going to save to the database, we then need to do some other things as well. Retrieve from the database. If I've saved comics, well, eventually I want to go over here to View Comics and have those comics appear. And perhaps also importantly, I want to edit what I've saved into the database, because the first time I didn't write any notes for the item, and then maybe a subsequent time I have something I remembered I do want to write a note. So I'm going to have to edit from the database. So reading and editing data in the database, 2 things that are coming up. Now before that, because that's a little involved, we're going to do one more thing. So right now, I have a database. I have, you know, whatever temporary name here that I called it here. I have a database internally. And there are instances perhaps that, okay, the user is going to sell their whole collection and get out of the hobby and just delete everything. Well, they might want to delete their account, their database, and all of that as well for this app. So let's talk about if the user wanted to first just start all over, delete the whole collection, because we had set up a while ago in our options screen, delete collection. That one is not, relatively, it's not as difficult as the other things we will need to do about retrieving or editing the data. This is just going to delete it whole, you know, the whole thing, the whole database. So let's work on that a little bit first. We have a button in the PG Options screen that we want to press to initiate the process of deleting the database. There is db.destroy, which is the actual command. db.destroy is the actual method attached to whatever database, and we're just calling it db. So .destroy will actually delete it. Now here it might be a good idea to have again the "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because we can program it, delete the collection, and it's done. Without any feedback, without any confirmation, it's done. We need to think about in user experience to perhaps confirm with them, are you sure you want to delete this? Are you sure you're pressing the button that you think? You're not just pressing these buttons without paying attention to them? So we want some confirmation. So to set ourselves up that this button does something, it's an HTML node. So I'm going to take a quick look at it in the HTML file. Somewhere in our PG Options screen. I just need to refresh my memory over here. So over here in the PG Options, line 264, I've got a button, Delete Collection. And href, it doesn't go anywhere. We don't need it to move to any screen. So the href is nothing. It's behaving like a button, and it's got an icon. More importantly, it has an ID, so we can reference it in JavaScript. This is an HTML node. We need to have it active in JavaScript. So we'll go back to our index.js file. We will create a JavaScript variable representing this HTML node, and then we will do the event listener and everything like that. Question?
Okay, so if I got to use your code, I don't even know what I'm going from it to start with.
Yeah, that's a big question. You need to copy the last known project from the network folder, and then take the www folder. So you're going to have to back up to MAD2 and grab the last copy 04, CBDB04, and then you're going to need to grab the www507. So if you need help with that, I'll help you in a moment, but that's your starting point. So I'm going to go to the JavaScript file, and let's create a brand new variable representing that button, and then we can start to do the event listener. So let's see here. Do we have any buttons? User email, button logout. I guess here variable for the logout, local storage. Well, I guess we'll just create a new one. So we'll do variable for deleting database. So var. $L btn delete collection is equal to the jQuery selector, quotes pound, and then the ID of that particular button in the HTML. So we've done that before. We've created JavaScript buttons based on HTML nodes. We are then going to need a event listener to so that we press the button, it runs a function. So we'll go to where we've got all of our event listeners near the end of the document. So near the end over here, L button logout was the last item that I have. I'm going to add $L btn delete collection, the one I just created. We have an onClick as before. We have on the event of pressing the button, we're going to run a function. On the event of clicking, we're going to run a function. Function delete collection. Okay, so like before, like right above that, if we wanted to log out after we click, we run a function logout. Well, here, when we click the button, we're going to run a function delete collection, which doesn't exist. So we'll back up to where we've got all of our function definitions. And create a brand new function. So we'll say a function to delete comic collection. We call that function, well, we're defining that function, doing the usual about a comment at the end that this is the end of that function, so that if I lose track of that curly brace, console log to note to ourselves that this is running. So this is all standard operating procedure to some degree. We've done this a few times before. The only thing I have is a comment there, and it's after save comic. Yes, I know, but I can't stop like right now. Just take notes and I'll be there in a moment. So the particular function right here is going to ask about, are you sure you want to delete? And just like we've done before, we have the conditional statement to check, are you really going to delete or not? And we're going to make it really safe by asking twice. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm using an app or I'm on a website, things pop up and I might not pay too much attention, and I just, okay, close it. Let me close it, let me get back to what I'm doing. But this is going to be very important because I'm about to delete the whole collection. So we're going to ask twice to confirm, just in case they didn't notice the first time, hopefully the second time. What might also be a good idea is play some sound to let them know, hey, something's about to happen, or make it vibrate, or do something. But we have over here, conditional statement. Statements to confirm deletion of database. So we'll start with a switch. And that has its end right there, end switch confirmation. We had a built-in confirmation in window.confirm. We've seen this before, where we ask a question of the user, and then they can cancel or accept it. If they cancel, something happens. If they accept it, something else happens. We have a couple of known possibilities. So in the window object, we've got the confirm method, and then we'll ask it a question. So we'll say, you are about to delete your whole collection. Confirm. Or are you sure? Or whatever way we want to word something like this. Some question is going to pop up. However you want to word that. This is another example where you can use your own wording. So I'll just have it go like this. Are you sure you're about to delete? Or confirm? So we have a few cases. We have a case of true, that they've chosen to, yes, we're going to, I do want to delete, but then we'll have a double check as well. We have a false. They instead we're like, no, I made a mistake, or I didn't see what I was clicking on, and so forth. And we've got the default possibility. So this is familiar from before. We've used case, or we used switch at least once, I think twice. And the syntax of that, as we're seeing here, well, what's in case of what it is. Boolean value, true or false, or remember we also had it for the, or an. We had possibilities for the conditional statement. For the case of true, or all of these, we should put a little bit of console output so that we, as we test it, we confirm what's going on. We'll say they want to delete confirmation 1. We're going to put in 2 confirmations. You can put as many as you want, as many as you think is necessary to really let the user know, okay, this is be careful about this. Now, because unless we build it in, there's no undo. So unless we make a backup of their data before deleting and then we program undo, it won't undo. It'll just delete. So we want some confirmations. For false, I'm going to say they didn't want to delete. For default, we're going to say yes.
So at this point, it will be only reflected in console, nothing actually going to happen, correct?
Yes, exactly, because all the time we've used console, it's only been messages back to us in the console. Whenever we want to show anything on screen, we might have a window.alert, or we have a pop-up, a jQuery mobile pop-up. So yeah, usually the first step, the way I teach it, is we have some console stuff for ourselves, and then as we know that that works, then we can do stuff for the front end, for the user.
I thought that this is going to like cover up the jQuery.
Third choice possibility over here under default, we'll say unknown error. And then we can figure out about how, as we test this, beta test it and such, we can figure out, well, what's going on here? Now, it should, based on the way we're setting it up, confirm really should only have two possibilities, true or false. So there shouldn't be a way to do a default that we trigger a default. But what I'm showing here is if we use other methods like the Cordova pop-ups, those can be programmed to have multiple possibilities, true, false, maybe, and then, okay, we can capture a maybe and do something else with it. But window.confirm has basically true or false. Okay, the second level. Yes?
Is it integral that we have the last break after the default?
It is good practice to have, yes, the final break. It's the basic skeleton of a switch. Yeah. So we'll have a second level of confirmation. We just ask it again. We ask another confirm, window.confirm. Now, we could do it by having a switch inside of a switch, or we can have any conditional statement inside a conditional statement. For fun, because this programming stuff should be fun, we're going to do an if-else. So we're going to put an if-else as our second level of confirmation. Now, again, if this is kind of making sense and you see the pieces of the puzzle coming together, these are parts of the code where you can decide, okay, as long as it works, you can decide I want to stick only with if-elses. Okay, fine, as long as your code works. Or I want to do an if-else on like the top level and then inside a switch. That'll be fine. I'm doing both a switch like on the outside, the first confirmation, and then an if-else on the inner confirmation. So same sort of thing here, another window.confirm, because what I want to do here is ask it one more time, ask the user one more time. We'll ask something like, are you sure? Oops, in quotes. So, and if else, second confirmation. It's going to pop up to ask them one more time, are you sure? And we have the cancel or the OK button. If they click OK, what it will return is a true, and then it'll do the stuff in this first block. If they click cancel, it'll do the stuff in this else block, false. So we'll have one more level of console output for ourselves as we test this, to say they confirmed to delete everything. Or in the else, can have that say they, what's the opposite of confirm? Disfirm? Denied. Okay, they denied deleting on the second try. If they get to this point here, which is approximately line 435, if they're in the second if right here, this is a true, we've asked them one more time. If they say okay on that pop-up, we drop into true. This is where it actually happens then. They actually delete. So that's db.destroy. Can note deletes pouch DB and cannot be retrieved unless we program an undo. So the method, the command to do it, .destroy, it just does it. There's no built-in confirmation. We have to build one in. We built a double one. First asking in the switch, you're about to delete, are you sure? If they say yes on that, it jumps to the case of true. It doesn't process false. It doesn't process default. It goes to the case of true. Then it starts to process this until we break, and then nothing further processes. If we ask them and they said cancel, well, it skips all of the true, it goes to false, does this part, which is basically nothing, the screen just closes. And then it breaks, no more code. Okay, they said true, second level of confirmation. So just another way to ask again, yes or no, this time with an if rather than a switch. Same window.confirm as before, because that'll ask a simple yes, no, true, false. And then if in that case, again, they say true, okay, we actually do it, because this whole function delete could have simply been this, this, and nothing else. So imagine it was nothing else. Function delete was just that. It would just delete. But that's way too final. So we're putting in our confirmations. Now, I said on Tuesday that with almost every command, every method that we do in PouchDB, there's always the possibility of a failure or success. So something could happen internally that it tried to delete and it failed. So we need to deal with the possibility of failure. Most likely it'll work. It's a pretty straightforward command. So we need to deal with the possibility of success. Maybe pop up a message, maybe do something on screen, play a sound, sad trombone sound or something, and we just have to deal with it right here. So we need to have it. There's no. The syntax previously was some sort of thing here, comma, some sort of function. This one's a little different in that there's no parameter. It just does it. But there is a callback function, just like we saw before. Anonymous function, open close parentheses, open close curly brace. And there will either be a failure object that is returned or a success object. And just like last time, because there could be a failure, there could be a success, it's either or. There's a condition of possibility. So like before we had a little bit above, we want to do one more if-else. If failure, something. If success, something else. So these curly braces, I'm going to break those curly braces to the next line so I can write a few lines of code. So I'm going to break that apart. And I will make a note and .destroy. I'm going to forget what that. I'm going to forget what those are. So with a nice little note, that's the ending of the curly brace of function, and that's the ending of the parenthesis for destroy. And that's the end of statement that was there when it was one line. One more if, else, because we have the possibilities. In this case that, okay, we tried to destroy the database, so it either happened failure or success. So we will, if failure, do something, or else it was a success, do something else. And then this curly brace right here, I'm going to lose track of it. So, and if else via dot destroy. Any sort of note that explains to me, well, what's that straight parenthesis there, so I don't lose track of these. It's very easy to lose track of them, of course. If a failure object was returned, so let's check here. If there was a failure, in the console, I will give myself a note, and in the front end to the user, I will make an alert pop-up to tell them some sort of error. So in the console, let's say error plus failure, so whatever that object is. I want to read, what is Pouch trying to tell me? Is it going to give me an error code that I need to go look up on the Pouch website? Is it some meaningful error that I can deal with right now, syntax or something? So into the console, to myself, I'm telling myself, okay, what is that failure, that message that it's giving me? To the user, window.alert, a JavaScript-based pop-up to say whatever we want here. Usually, however, if there's some sort of error in deleting the database, it's not the user's fault. This is internal. We're coding this, and it's db.destroy the end. So this is like an error at the moment that the user really can't even deal with. So we'll just give them some sort of message, such as error \n to create a new line, contact the developer, and then give them an email address to contact us at. Sorry, I meant help. There we go. So just some sort of pop-up that appears for the user with a message, because again, this in theory should not happen. db.destroy is kind of fundamental, so the user didn't do anything wrong. The database exists, and it just should work. So that's just kind of a little funny thing there. Importantly, the console is more important, because as we're testing this and we try to break it, then we can get a failure object to read and then look up the error message and such and try to figure out the problem. More meaningfully, over on the else, okay, so the else deals with success. They tried to destroy their database. There was a success to that, so we'll put a message in the console. Let's say successfully deleted Pouch. Actually, let me just back up here. This is kind of optional. These messages in the console should be maybe a little bit more verbose. Right now, okay, it's an error that makes sense when we're trying to db destroy. But when we have a really long list of errors and such, that's not as detailed as it could be. Error in destroying Pouch. Maybe just something more detailed. And so here, instead of just saying success, we're going to say successfully deleted Pouch. And if there is that success object, show it in the console. It shouldn't be anything that meaningful. It's just going to say like message OK or something. But if we trigger that successfully deleted Pouch that we programmed into it, then it will just be a message for us. And to the user, we should also give them a pop-up, some visual feedback that something happened correctly. So another alert. We'll say collection deleted. Just whatever confirmation that it worked. I'm going to make a note here for two things that we need to get back to eventually, right after the break, because, again, computers, they do exactly what you tell them, how you program them. We're not at a level that it's going to learn to do things. We need to program it. And technically what happens here is, okay, when the program first loads up, when it loads up eventually on a device, it loads it up all onto memory, processes it and all of that, and makes a database on your device. We had that var db equals new pouch. Remember that? So it made a new pouch database in your device. Well, right now we just have to destroy it, so there's nothing there. Technically, if I, after this point, try to go save a comic, it'll let me try to save a comic, but there will be no database. We just destroyed it. So we need to reinitialize the database. We need to create a new database. They deleted it, so all entries are gone, but we need now a new database so that they can start saving again if they choose to. So we'll make the note for it at the moment, and then we'll actually do it. Reinitialize database. Initialize database to start storing comics again. And just for the moment, we'll also put refresh screen. This will be tied to later when we are showing comics on the screen, because one way to view the comics is a list of the comics, and unless we program it, even if we deleted the database, that list still displays all 10 comics I own. Well, that's dumb. I just deleted the database. Yes, but you didn't do anything about the front-end list of comics. So we need to refresh the screen to show that, yeah, you deleted it in the back end, but also your list of comics is gone. But we'll get back to that once we learn how to start to display comics. Yes?
Are we going to program something to delete like one comic at a time?
Yes, definitely. Right now, we're doing this early on in terms of sometimes we need to test things and we need to start over quickly. So we're building in a delete everything. Then once we kind of mastered that, then okay, now it's time to start to view individual comics, edit individual comics, delete individual comics. And that takes more effort. So this is kind of the easier one first. At this point, this should be enough to test it. Yeah, so save it and run it. And test if... Save some comics first. Confirm that they're getting saved in the application viewer. So save some comics. And then go over to the delete button and try to delete the collection, see if you get some of this feedback. It's not fully programmed, but it's very close. And it'll be a good point to pause for help and such. But let me just confirm my code works. I forgot to check my error list as usual. But let's confirm if mine works. I'm going to save a brand new comic. So comic ZZZ number 2, 1988. Okay, so I get the usual. Comic is saved. I can confirm also in the application over here by sequence. That's the one I recommend, that when you check your data, you can look at it in different ways, but by sequence is one of the ways I like to, because it shows the order of the comics that I stored them. We'll be able to retrieve them in any order, and individuals, of course, but I just want to see them in order. The one I just entered, ZZZ, is right there. I'm going to go to console. I'm going to go to the options screen, delete, so get the pop-up. Okay, so that first level of the switch popped up. You're about to delete, confirm. Okay, I chickened out, I'll cancel. So they didn't want to delete. You know, if we want to program something visually on screen that says thank you for not deleting, we could. Do we need to? Probably not, because clicking cancel is enough. Right? The user made their wishes known. But internally, then I see they didn't want to delete. Okay, let me try that again. I'm going to click delete. This time I'll click OK. Maybe I'm not paying attention, maybe I am, so I click OK. I get another pop-up. Are you sure? So it's proceeding here. They want to delete. We went through the first confirmation, line 432. One more time. Okay, I got cold feet again. So if I cancel that, they denied deleting. It fell into the else from my if-else in the second level of confirmation. And then I'll take the plunge, delete. Okay, one more time. They confirmed to delete everything, successfully deleted. I got the from failure or success. I got the success. I get that final pop-up, collection deleted. Click OK on that. I can also look under my application viewer and, oh, there's nothing here anymore, which is what I want so far. And then after the break, well, we need to reinitialize the database to start to store again, because you're going to get weird errors if you try to go back to save. I'm trying to save to a database that doesn't exist. It was never initialized. Unknown error. There's no place to save comics again, so I need to reinitialize the database. But if that worked, then that's good. Ultimately, it was simply db destroy, but with a lot of protections and such. So let's take our first break, confirm it's all working, and then we'll further polish it.